that's all right with everyone. All right, got it. Okay, and I might need to just work on this real quick, slideshow. Boom. I am so good at technology. Okay. So you might hear that I just give myself a little props as I go along, just to help myself feel better. Okay, so this class is emotional intelligence, and we started this series a couple weeks ago, the first class. And so don't worry if you weren't there. I'm going to review some of the material to get you up to speed, and then we can go into some new elements of this class today. So let's see. Okay, so today I'm going to focus in on a couple things. To begin with, I'm going to start with just a really short grounding sequence. We know that when we move our bodies into a parasympathetic state, which basically means your emotional system is regulated, that's how we learn. And so we know that through research that people don't learn when they're in a stress state or when they're aroused in a way that they're feeling agitated. And so I'm going to do a 5-minute grounding after this just to help us kind of move into a better learning state. And we also know that mindfulness is really helpful for our emotional well-being and also intelligence within ourselves, which we're going to be focusing primarily on ourselves, less on figuring out what's going on with other people. And so I'm going to do a quick review of what emotional intelligence is. And I'm also hoping that people that were at the class last time will share a little bit about what they remember from the last class, and maybe something that might have been helpful or was a little nugget that they had in their back pocket moving into the last couple weeks. Also, we're going to go into how emotional intelligence helps us, how we understand ourselves better, and then just how, we can move through life with just some more skills in this realm. And finally, I'm going to go into like this pretty cool activity it's kind of focused on values and figuring out what works for you, what's in your bones, what values are really intrinsic to yourself, and how that interweaves and joins up with emotional intelligence. Okay, so we're going to move into a mindfulness grounding now. And I lead this all over the state all the time. And so it's just going to be a really short grounding, but you're welcome to turn off your screens for this if you don't want to be seen. I'm going to leave my screen on. But it's really helpful to just close your eyes or hold a soft gaze. And I just want to preface that it's so normal for your mind to wander. That is definitely like just part of being human. You can always tune yourself back into the sound of my voice or your own breathing. All right, so as we begin, go ahead and just get comfortable in your chair. Sometimes people like to lay on the floor and literally just go get in a different part of their office and kind of create that space as a place where they can recenter for the day. But go ahead and get comfortable, close your eyes, and we're just going to begin with breathing because we know breath is the gateway to stillness. And so begin by taking a deep breath in. And again, now with your next breath, I'm going to invite you to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And if you want to make your mouth kind of the shape of a pencil, you're holding a pencil, blowing out like through a straw, that helps more air release from your system. So deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just allowing your shoulders to drop with your breathing. Allowing your head to kind of sink into your neck and just settle into your chair. We're going to begin by doing a big belly breath, focusing on filling up the abdomen. And then, like sucking a straw, I want you to pull all that energy up through your chest, up through your throat to the crown of your head, and hold that breath and release. Again, one more big belly breath, focusing deep in your body and pulling that energy up, up, up to the crown of your head, and hold and release. And last big belly breath, pulling that energy up to the crown of your head and hold. And release now to your eyes. And with that breath, allowing your eyes to just roll back into their sockets, allowing any little muscles in your eyes to just rest, inviting your eyebrows to just settle in. Taking a deep breath in. Sending this next breath now to your jaw. And with that breath, allowing your jaw to just let go. And just inviting the rest of your face to settle into your neck. Feel held. Taking a deep breath in. Sending this next breath now to your shoulders. And with that breath, allowing your shoulders to drop. And just letting your arms hang heavy, allowing the weight of your arms to just kind of lay in your lap. I'm just going to invite you now to find any stress you may be holding in your body. Maybe there's something you've been thinking about that's kind of tough, comes up again and again. I want you to imagine that stress to just move down your arms, move to your elbows, to your wrists, and just allow that stress to move out your fingertips and disappear. Taking a deep breath in. Sending this next breath now to your chest area. With that breath, allowing for more spaciousness around your heart. And just noticing your lungs, breathing in, breathing out. And while we're in this space within your chest, I'm going to invite you to just activate your imagination and allow a light within your chest to come forward. And with this light within your chest, I want you to think of an intention or a word, something that will serve you today or this week in your life. And that intention or word could be anything from peace to clarity to courage to creativity or even just calm. And so just allowing thinking parts to relax right now and see what intention comes forward for you. And once you have your word or words, I want you to silently repeat to yourself that you are that word. So if the word is peace, repeating silently, I am peace, I am peace, I am peace. Taking a deep breath in, Sending this next breath now down to your sit bones. And with that breath, allowing your sit bones to just root into your chair. And with that feeling of being tethered to the chair, moving down your legs, allowing your legs to feel heavy and weighted. And maybe arranging your feet so they're touching the floor. Allowing that heaviness to move all the way down to your feet and just feeling your feet make contact with the floor. And allowing the floor and the earth to push up and meet your feet so you're connected. And just noticing that you're feeling really grounded with your lower body. You're feeling rooted and stable and secure. And even you can imagine that you have roots growing out from the back of your heels, moving out from your toes, moving from the center of your feet, a big root system moving directly down into the earth, moving down past rocks and water and elements and dirt. And as you move into the earth, just noticing that you're feeling even more secure. And your upper body is feeling light and relaxed. And if you were a tree, you could bend and you could move. You could allow any storm to just blow past you without attaching, without the need to judge it or control it. And so we're just going to hold for a minute in this feeling of feeling grounded and safe and secure, but also having a flexible mind, relaxed body. And so if there's any other stress you might be feeling in your body, go ahead and call it forward now to move down your legs, down into your feet, and allow that stress to move down into your roots. And just allow the earth to just absorb that stress for you and hold it for you. And just see it move all the way down to the tippy end of the taproot and allow it to just disappear. And so we're going to move back into the here and now. But before we do, just noticing that you always have access to this part of yourself, this part that is connected, intuitive, calm.
Ooh, wow, that made me tired. I don't think that's a point.
Yeah, sometimes this puts us to sleep. So we're going to move back into the here and now. So I want you to take a deep breath in, pulling that energy back a bit into your heart area, and just slowly maybe allow your head to roll, maybe stretch. Go ahead and allow yourself to move back into the room. And we're going to come back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'll just give you a sec to move back into the space we are now. Okay. Yeah, so I would love to just check in and see what folks noticed and allowing themselves to just do a little bit of grounding, a little bit of mindfulness in the middle of their workday. And what happened for folks? What do you notice?
It's relaxing.
Okay, yeah. So Dave says relaxing. Yeah. How about other people?
I was gonna say definitely very relaxed, like almost I feel kind of tired now, but
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
And-
what happens with when you move into parasympathetic, you can almost fall asleep. And that really shows that you really relaxed to the point of falling asleep, which is you really did relax. So way to go.
I
What else
received
did
an
people notice?
unexpected word that I didn't expect, and then I was fighting with
Okay.
it, like, no, I should be thinking this, and then I brought it back around to what I was being told. So
Okay. Yeah. So with the intention piece, it was a bit of like you were having a little battle there that some other part of you wanted this word, but this other word came in. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else with the intention? What did people notice with that?
I just reminded myself that I'm part of a collective of understanding and effort, and stress can mount when I feel like it's all on me. So that was my intention, just to remember that collective.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that word, collective. I haven't heard that word for a while. Thanks for sharing, Abby. Yeah, so that feeling of connection and just oneness, and that yeah, we're holding stress in our body, and it's okay to release that. Well, great. Well, I appreciate everyone sharing. There's such a risk in vulnerability when we share things that feel, a little bit vulnerable. So I appreciate you being willing to just share. Oftentimes people report like that my mind was kind of crazy. I was going all over the place and it was hard to kind of focus. And if anyone felt that way, I just want to normalize that piece because that is very, very common for that. And when you start making this kind of a practice, you'll notice that you can smooth your pivot back to where you want to be. And it's such a cool muscle to develop because we can use that muscle all the time. Like if you're in line at the grocery store and there's like little kids screaming and something happening over here, and if you can find a way to pivot with your mind and move into a little bit of softness and calmness, then you can move through the day a little bit more easy. Okay, anyone else want to share?
It's good to have a reminder about breathing, being able to calm you down. Just, just in it at any instant during the day, if you're feeling well up in your chest, to just stop it and take a few deep breaths. You don't have to go into a meditation, but just take a couple breaths and move on.
So true. Thanks for sharing that, Sally. Like the act of breathing is such a powerful tool to have in our back pocket, and we all have it, which is so awesome. The fact that we don't even have to think about breathing, we can sleep and our bodies just breathe for us, but we can also actively access it intentionally if we're feeling stressed. So, yeah, thanks for that tip there, Sally. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so last week in our class, we went into some emotional intelligence, and I just would love to hear if there's anything that people remember from last week that they want to share, maybe a nugget, maybe there's just a little something that, because knowledge will just, you learn something, it's gone. And when you're asked to remember it, it'll help our pathways within our brain. Anything that syncs together links together. And so, yeah, what did people notice that they remember from last week?
When you're old, you don't remember a lot of things, Jen.
All right. Thanks, Al, for that. Well, great. Well, we'll keep moving on. I'm gonna go over it so you don't have to remember. We can check back in with that. See what is spurned on the next slide. I'm just gonna check the chat real quick. Okay, looks good. Okay, so let's see if I can handle technology in this moment. And I'm trying to go to the next slide. There it is. Okay, so just a little review from last week. One thing we went into was the brain and how it affects emotional intelligence and what we know through efficacy and research. Just the things that work together within the brain and how it helps us move through our day. So yeah, just going through some of these quickly. We know that when our emotional well-being is regulated, that we feel good. When our body is feeling like calm and just peaceful or even just neutral, we can learn more, we can problem solve more, we can move into insights and awareness. We know that when we are feeling regulated, that creative ideas can come into the mix. And there's all this research even with artists and people that like do any sort of problem solving, scientists, anyone basically, that when you feel regulated within your emotional well-being, that you can just, things can come to you a little more quickly. And so it's helpful to keep working on that skill. The other thing is communication. When our emotional well-being is regulated, also we're able to like read the room. We can walk into a space and just have more attunement with other people around us, and be able to see how we can be in that moment. How can we can rise, or whatever is needed for us within our system with communication. The other thing is just feeling emotionally balanced. I mean, that's like gold. If you're feeling pretty good within your system, you're able to respond. And I kind of did this during we did the meditation and when you were the tree, and being able to be flexible with stress or with wind or with storms. That flexibility within the brain is called neuroplasticity. And we know that through research that if there's kind of that flexibleness where people aren't feeling fixed and like kind of like black and white thinking, and just are able to allow flexibility, our responses within our system help us move and grow and connect a little bit better. We also create more understanding and connection with others with empathy and also compassion. And I just want to note on empathy, because it's often like confused with compassion and what the difference is. And so empathy is the ability to feel the feelings with another. And compassion is more in the realm of being able to notice if someone is struggling, or being aware that you can kind of plug in some way. But compassion isn't as much about feeling the feelings in that moment as empathy is. And they even found that for public health employees or anyone that works in like first responders or ER doctors, that they typically have a little bit lower level of empathy. And it's really helpful because they don't want to feel all the feelings in that moment, right? Their compassion might be a lot higher because obviously they're a caregiver, they want to be there, they want to respond and help and fix. But the empathy piece might be a little bit lower. So just kind of notice what comes up for you with that. Maybe where you are on that scale of like compassion versus empathy. The other thing is insight. So we know that when our emotional wellness is regulated, that we just have more aha moments. This leads into a moral awareness for choosing how to treat others, and also just intuition. Okay. Any thoughts from anyone as we go through this? And I was just sharing just now.
I do appreciate your comments on the sort of common experience among public health professionals and the emergency responders and say ER healthcare providers, the empathy and compassion piece. And I think it's interesting to think about our emotional intelligence, and I would consider myself more empathic, and I find it to be very draining. And so it's good to hear you talk about the difference and pardon me, more of like understanding what are other appropriate responses in those situations. So
thanks for sharing that, Abby. Yeah, and it's just helpful to know that the difference between those are, because and helpful to know that if you're highly empathic, yeah, that can be really exhausting all day. If let's say if you're a first responder and you're feeling all the feelings all day with all the chaos that you just came in contact with. So noticing what your level of empathy is versus compassion is just helpful. And once you know insight into yourself, then you can kind of attune yourself for the situation and make an adjustment. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Abby. All right, any other thoughts? I can't really see faces, so I don't know if someone's hand up or whatever. You'll just have to speak forward. I'm a former teacher, so I can and therapist, so I can sit in silence for so long. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And let's see. I don't know why sometimes it doesn't want to move for me. Let's try that one. Nope. Oh yeah, it's down in the corner. There it is. Yay, did it. Okay. We're just gonna, this is another part of the review. If you were here last week, yeah, just bear with us for just a second. But part of emotional intelligence is noticing what your emotions actually are. And it's interesting that not too long ago, there was a study that came out that most people thought there was like 5 emotions: sad, mad, glad, happy. And that we know that we are complex creatures. We have so many emotions, and they can move down the emotional ladder from kind of, most people enter in with like frustration and a little bit of annoyance. And then if you allow that frustration and annoyance to move to stay there, it can move down into anger, down into rage, and then sometimes down into hopelessness. And so understanding that there's an emotional ladder that you can move up and down is kind of helpful for your emotional well-being. And so as you look at this diagram, just kind of tune in for a sec about what you're noticing, about what you're feeling right now. And notice also this other thought of, what do I feel most of the time? A lot of us, we tend to think 90% of the same thoughts every single day. And so with the similar thoughts, if we're just being unconscious and moving through our day and we have this thought about that and this thought about that, every thought you think, there's kind of an invisible thread that leads to an emotion. And so in knowing that every thought holds an emotion, it's interesting to also note that that emotion lives in our bodies. And it makes sense, right? Like if you're starting to feel sad, you usually can locate the feeling of, like, if tears are coming on, some people feel it in their chest and it kind of moves up into their throat, and then their eyes start to water. So we know that emotion lives in our body. And so with that, it's really helpful to notice, what am I thinking about every day? And what does that thought lead to emotionally within my system? And so, yeah, there's a lot of patterns that we are just unconsciously within our systems. And so this is just kind of helpful to notice, what am I thinking about most of the day? And yeah, I'm noticing there's a chat. So Amy says, I love this wheel of thoughts and feelings. Thank you. And someone hearted it. Thanks for sharing that, Amy. Yeah, does anyone else have any thoughts? What are you noticing as you look at this diagram of feelings? And this isn't even like all the feelings, but yeah, what's coming up for folks as you look at this?
I like that array of emotions under happy. Those are all good things.
Okay. So David, you're noticing the happy ones. Did those feel pretty good to you just looking at that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
cool.
Powerful. Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff for sure. Yeah, and it's interesting with happy, that for most people, that has to be an intentional activation for most people. A lot of us, it's just easier. It's easier to just move into negative thoughts and negative feelings. And so to actually move into like happy, how do you even do that? It's usually like very intentional. And some people, they get into some cool ways of activating happy throughout their day. I know that there's many people that have like a gratitude journal, and so in the morning they write down things that they're grateful for, or even they just feel into one or two things, and then that just kind of activates that feeling of gratitude. And gratitude can move into the system of feeling like, I feel happy about that. Like, I love my pillow. I I am so grateful for my pillow every morning. I have like this $80 pillow that's the best. And so just notice that you can have an object or a thing that's very benign. It's not even like, a meaningful connection with another person. And you can activate the feeling of happiness just by zoning in and thinking about it. So this is the cool thing about science we went over last week. When you have a thought and you think it for more than like 30 seconds, and even if it goes into a minute, that thought creates a synapsis within your brain. And that synapsis, if you think it, a like-minded synapsis will attach to it. And so think about your thoughts, if you're thinking of thoughts that are like, oh, I'm feeling so grateful for my pillow and I'm just like loving my pillow. And when I lay on my pillow, I sleep so good. And now that I'm getting hot flashes, my pillow has this calming thing. And, and I just keep thinking about it. And then I can more easily move into other things I'm grateful for. And it's the same thing if you're thinking about things that are negative. So if you're having a negative thought, just notice like, oh yeah, when I'm thinking about that coworker that doesn't show up on time and they're kind of lazy, and I'm wishing that they would just do their job. That can kind of lead to more thoughts, and it's basically a train that you can get on. And we know that within the brain, any thought patterns create kind of like railroad systems in your thinking. And if you're thinking the thought all the time, well, that's going to be a railroad you're going to get on more often than other ones. And so to like cultivate new thought patterns takes effort. It takes a bit of effort. And so let me move on to the next slide. I think I have my railroad slide next. There it is. Okay, so patterns of thought. What are you thinking about? And what are those thoughts connected to emotionally within your system? And so I would just love to hear, I know there's so much collective wisdom within this group about what are some strategies that people do when they notice they're on a thinking path that's not really helpful and they kind of want to pivot. What do folks do in this space?
That's kind of funny that you say that, Jen, because I don't work on the floor right now, but when I used to, and I'd find myself going down a negative thought pattern, I would just say mentally to myself, I've got to turn this train around. And I would try to put in positive thoughts and not focus, because it's such a big thing. You start on the negative and you just follow it down. It's such an easy slope.
So easy. Yeah.
That's the
That's so
whole
cool.
thought I would
You
use.
had the train metaphor already.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Amy. What else? What else do other people do if they need to pivot?
Yeah, what I tell myself is there's good in everything. So I have to remind myself at times when I feel like it is negative, that
There's good in everything. Yeah, there's good in everything. Yeah. Oh my gosh, David, I'm loving that you're bringing in a mantra because a mantra is really helpful. If you have a mantra in your back pocket, it can pop up and help you shift just like that. So there's good in everything. Yeah, beautiful. What else? What else do people do?
Hi, Jen. This is Holly Gadaris from the Program Systems Improvement Office.
Hello, Holly.
I've been doing a lot of like if I start thinking about work after hours, I'm like, okay, I'm labeling thoughts. Like where I'm like, okay, you're thinking about work. So label it work. And then I'm like, you got to get back to like music, art, or nature. You're off the clock. So,
Okay.
like I'm trying to just label it as work, get it off the track, and then get into like creative music, art, or nature or something. But if I catch myself ruminating, I'm like, you're not getting paid for this. Refocus, music, art, or nature.
You're not getting paid for this thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not there.
taking
You're
up
not on the
rent.
clock. So you're done. Music, art, or nature, get back to the creative aspect. But thank you for all this.
Yeah.
This is really great. Great to see you.
Oh, thank you, Holly, for sharing. I mean, you just brought in a couple really cool tools that are for all of our back pockets. One is, hey, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm off the clock. Like this is taking rent up in my brain and I'm not getting paid for it. So that's such a great pivot. And the other two I heard was nature and creativity. What can you shift to that feels good that you want to shift to when you're off the clock? And so thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to read this quick chat from Nicole who says, I tell myself there's always positive in the negative. Yeah, girl, love that. Okay. Okay, well, I'm noticing the time, so I'm going to move on to our next slide so we can stay on track. But thanks for everyone for sharing. I appreciate all these great insights. So yeah, we're going to move into our outer world. I kind of wanted you to focus on the inner world and how it shapes you. But next, I'm going to go into a values exercise. And I want you to just think about how you're going to figure out your values in this exercise. But I want you to kind of have in the back of your thinking how this affects how you are in the outer world. And we all have a different persona. We all have a different like part we're playing when we're in the outer world in so many different ways. And so just notice how your values, how they might pop up for you. All right. So our core values are pretty intrinsic. They're kind of in our bones. They don't change much. People kind of come into the world with values that stay within their systems, and we tend to actually make most of our decisions from our core values. And so I'm going to just do this quick exercise with you. So if you get a piece of paper and a pen ready, I'm going to be showing you just like a whole bunch of values, and I want you to pick 6 out of them. And just notice, like, just allow them to pop forward to you. They could be, maybe something might even be surprising, like, really, this is something that's important to me. But pick whatever, and I don't have a full list, obviously. So if you know there's something for you that's like really important, go ahead and just write it down. But I'm just going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and pick 6 values. And some of you might be like, Jen, this is not enough. I have 10. We'll go ahead and pick 10. But yeah, just for the sake of time, let's go ahead and pick 6. And I'm just going to mute myself for a sec while everyone does this real quick. Thank you. Okay, well, you might need a little more time, and that's okay. For those of you that are done, now that you got your 6, and I'm just going to check this chat. All right. Oh, cool. You guys are writing them down. That's great. Thanks, Amy and Abby. Note it. Now I want you out of those 6. I'm going to have you now circle 4 that are more important than those 6. So go ahead and look at the 6 and pick 4 that are they're a little bit higher for you, a little bit more important. Okay. And then out of those 4, I want you to pick your top 2. Okay, and out of those 2, go ahead and put a big heart or star around the number 1. That's like, oh, yeah, this is really important for me. This is something that is just part of me and may dictate how you move through the world. And just so you know, I'm happy to send this list to anyone. This is a really cool exercise to do with your family, with your kids, with your partner. It's really helpful in understanding what others' values are. And so, yeah, just send me a message if you'd like me to send this to you, because it's kind of just a cool, like, dinner time conversation as well. All right. So now that you kind of broke it down a little bit to what's really important to you, let's see. I'm going to go to the next slide. So what do you notice? Out of like the ones that you picked, are there any that are like, wow, this is really from my family of origin? My mom and dad, my grandma, like this is coming down the line within my family. This is like just a value that I was definitely taught and that is part of my family unit, and just noticing that. You may notice that some of these maybe one feels like more like a goal. Like it's something like, you know what, I'm not actually that great at this thing, but it's just something I really want to be good at. And so I'm still like striving with it. You know, it may not feel like totally intrinsic to how you are, but it's just important to you. And that's just the way it is. There may be one that's like, oh, that's kind of surprising. I did not expect that. And so in knowing what your values are, the cool thing is values are interesting because they can move into shadow. So thinking about like if you're a caregiver and you know that you work as a nurse and you know that one of your top values, like number 2, is caregiving and service. We'll just notice that sometimes our values can move into, whew, you are just doing that value so hard all the time that you're not having as much balance in your life because you're really caregiving and giving up your time for yourself and not really finding ways to refill your well so you can give out that caregiving. And so just notice, are any of these values anything that feels like I might need to, on the spectrum, dial back just a little bit in that way. And so, yeah, it's really helpful to know. The other thing I want you to just keep in mind, you may notice that any issue you have coming up in your life, when it's relational or something, anything that's a problem in your life, it often is your value getting pushed on. And so if you're noticing like, oh, hard work is one of my top values, and there's just someone in the office that just doesn't show up. They're lazy and they don't do their work. And if your value is like hard work, ooh, that's going to be a pressure point for you. And so just look at your values, notice what's going on in your life, and notice if there's any that are just like getting triggered in relation to that. All right, I'm noticing the time, and I want to give just like a little bit of time for people to share. And so, yeah, what do people notice with I'm just going to go back to the slide real quick. So just a quick review. We did some mindfulness at the beginning just to get all our parasympathetics into a really good learning space and just relax ourselves. We went into a little bit of emotional intelligence and how it helps us understand. And then I just had to do a quick values exercise to notice how your values link to your emotional awareness, and how once you know your values, you have a lot more power in how you move through the day. Because you can be like, oh, well, I just had an emotional response to that. Oh yeah, that links to one of my values under service. So let's move into just the last 5 minutes. I'd love to hear from you all. Like, what do you notice? What's a takeaway, or just anything that you want to share that's been helpful?
I just would like to share one. It's a great exercise, Jen. I actually had an assignment in school. I taught a health and wellness class, and I would have students do this, and it was amazing the feedback from that. But I look at my values on a regular basis. It reminds you what's important. So we call that a moral compass, right? When we're challenged, whether it is good for us or not good for us. So. But anyway, that's the reason I signed up for the course, is just to be reaffirmed and reminded of the good things. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, David. Yes, you've already done this and you know the value of it, and that you return to it and check back in just to see where you're at. Cool. Thanks, David. What else? What are people noticing?
I was surprised, before you started the values activity, the word objectivity came up for me, and I was like, I'm pretty stuck on that. Maybe it's my values. And so the exercise was pretty intellect or objectivity. And so that exercise was pretty affirming.
Helpful. Yeah. Thanks, Abby. Appreciate you sharing.
I kind of put something down in the chat, but I've never thought of it that way. Like when your core values are challenged and possibly how you react. So I do employee relations management out at Montana Food Bank Network. So I try to, your emotional intelligence is very important all the time in that sort of position. But I think there's certain situations and I get more heated up about, and I think it's because it's challenging my core value of, respect.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Awesome. What a powerful insight to notice. Yeah. Super cool. Thanks for sharing, Nicole. All right. We have a few more minutes. Anything else other than the values, or even that you notice with the mindfulness, or even just going over some of the brain stuff and how the mind is linked, all your cognitions are linked to your emotions, and that they live in your system. So anything else that people want to share or notice about?
Jen, I have worked for state government for 22 years, and I'm just thankful that we even have this today. Like, my core value was love, but like genuinely, I love that our department, has even got us to here, and that we as a group of people, get to come together and do things like this for us to help our emotional intelligence. So I just, who would have thought 22
Yeah.
years ago we would be here? And I am so grateful, and I love it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for sharing, Holly. Wow, it sounds like your department's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I just wanted to add, when you watch the news every day, and it's been so sad and terrible and gut-wrenching, really, that it's nice to, if you have a system to return to balance yourself. I think that's really, really valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for adding that, David. We're inundated with so much negativity within the day. And so noticing, like, even with the news right now, how you can regulate that piece for you and choose, how much you can bracket the amount of negativity coming into your day, because that does affect us. It builds. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah. Anything else that people are like, this is a takeaway for me? Like next week, this is a little nugget from my back pocket.
I would just, I journal. And so it's a reminder to try to journal every day, is that, again, about the positive things that you are grateful for. So I think it's just a reminder. The more you can be reminded to be in a good place, the better off life is.
Thanks for sharing that, David. Yeah, that's such another awesome tool for your back pocket. I mean, you all have shared a lot of good tools and how you can activate thinking within your system that feels good. And journaling oftentimes is just helpful to also get out some of the negative thoughts onto paper. And there's this really cool study on mind through your heart and out of writing. So artists and writers and lots of poets, they're able to channel all of that into creativity. And journaling is another way to do that. Thanks for sharing, David. Well, I'm noticing the time. Anybody else? All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming. Desiree, there's something you wanted to share at the end?
I forgot the evaluation link, so let me put that in there really quick.
Okay, sounds good. And we could
All
just email that out too to all the
I will.
participants.
I will.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we have another class coming up. These are bi-weekly. I'll be teaching them every other Thursday at 10 o'clock. And you can just go to the Montana Public Health Training Center website under the wellness program. And there's all kinds of cool classes that Desiree has coming up. The next one that I'll be teaching is specifically on communication. And so, yeah, if you're interested in learning more, there'll be 2 classes in a row that kind of build on each other on communication skills and tools that you can use not only in the workplace, but also with your regular life. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you all making the time. Thank you. Thank you, At. Thank you. Have a great day. All right.
Good. That was good.
Okay.
Link. One day, Jen, I'm gonna get it all. I'll get it all. One day.
You did. You crushed it.
All but the evaluation. Oh well.
Oh,
That's
it's fine. I mean, oh my gosh. That's just like whatever. You can just send it through email. Usually I have a really hard time like, oh, I gotta go somewhere and I can't copy and paste the link anyway. And so an email is more helpful anyway in that regard. So I wouldn't sweat that.
okay.
Ah.
My list of things to do.
Okay.
The
Well,
hour-
thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. That was really good. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good deal. Yeah, I went a little bit longer with the mindfulness piece. So I'm just noting that I need to shave that down a bit. I think I needed it a little bit.
Right. Well,
I did
Jen,
that for my own regulation.
when you're talking
say
about
that
if you're
again?
feeling a little discombobulated, it's, like where are the planets and what's happening? We're going into a lunar eclipse. So yeah, we're all a little trying not to be.
Guess what? I forgot my password to my computer right before we started, which I use every day. I have for years. And I locked myself out of my computer and I was just blank. I'm like, what is my password? I have nowhere. Don't have it written down anywhere. It was just, so I went and just got calm and breathed. And then I was like, oh yeah, I know what it is.
It is the choice of getting older, because honest to goodness.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, great. We'll do it again in 2 weeks. I'm gonna just check the chats because I couldn't really check that at the end. Thank you. Thank you. Qualtrics. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, good.
Perfectamundo.
All right. Well, enjoy the warmth. I'm in like 9 degrees with the wind chill, probably like 50, -50. So send me your warmth.
68. It's 68. Sending it.
Appreciate it. Okay, well, have a great day.
Drive safe. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Bye. Thank you.